Welcome to the studio.
Yes.
This is fun.
Oh, this is so fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, I've been wanting to have, I was like, when are we going to have Lisa? So
yes,
this is fun.
happy to do it.
Welcome back to Terms of Service. I'm CNN tech reporter Claire Duffy, and today I'm in the studio with CNN tech editor Lisa Edichico and another special guest. Hey Meta, will you give me the top 3 tech news headlines of the day?
Here are the top 3 tech news stories. First, Chinese tech giants Ant Group and JD.com have paused plans to issue stablecoins in Hong Kong after government concerns. Second, Chinese memory chip maker CXMT plans a Shanghai listing with a $42.12 billion valuation. Third, WhatsApp will soon limit messages and new chats to reduce spam.
All right, lots of China-heavy tech news. So these are the latest Ray-Bans smart glasses from Meta, which is just one of the players pushing to make glasses the next big device for the AI era. But we want to know just how much you can actually do with these smart glasses and whether they really could one day replace the smartphone. Lisa is here to help us answer all of those questions. And Lisa, I know that you've been playing around with earlier versions of the Meta Ray-Bans. Have you been finding them useful? What's your take? And what is your take on them as a fashion statement?
I do find them useful. In terms of how they look, I think that's a really important question because a lot of companies have been trying to make smart glasses a thing forever. You might remember Google Glass from more than a decade ago now. That device was really expensive and also just kind of strange looking. We've been waiting for that moment when smart glasses actually look like a pair of glasses, and now we're finally there. That said, I do feel like most people are still new to the idea. They're still learning about them. I think it'll be hard to convince people who don't wear glasses to wear them for that specific reason. But there are a lot of conveniences, right? If you think about being able to look at something and ask questions about it or take a photo without having to take out your phone. A lot of the things that you use your AirPods for, you'll probably be able to use smart glasses for if you can't do so already. So I do think there's some promise there. Do I think it's going to replace the smartphone? Not quite. And we can dive more into that too. But I do think it's an interesting new category, I guess. And I think we're going to see more and more people wearing them.
Yeah, I've been finding, just as a New Yorker, it's nice to wear them to listen to music rather than headphones or having something in your ear because you can still kind of hear your surroundings. Give us the basic pitch for smart glasses. What do these makers say they can do? What are they meant for?
So the basic pitch is being able to do things that you would normally take out your phone for without having to actually reach for your phone. So if you want to take a photo of something, if you want to listen to music, if you want to ask for the weather. So that's been the promise for a while. And you might remember a couple of years ago, Amazon released a pair of smart glasses called the Echo Frames. And that was the promise. You can take Alexa with you so she doesn't have to be confined to your home and you can ask questions and have this virtual assistant right in your ear, essentially. But now what we're seeing now that AI assistants are more sophisticated than they were back then, we have these generative AI-driven AI assistants now. That's kind of taking things to a new level. So instead of just answering questions, the hope and the promise is that you'll be able to look at something and ask your AI assistant about it because now these glasses also have cameras and they can analyze what you're seeing and see what you're seeing.
Yeah, I've been doing this very nerdy thing where I look at a plant that I don't know and I ask it to tell me what plant it is and if I can plant it myself. I mean, you mentioned Google Glass, which is from a decade ago. They tried to do this. It totally flopped. What has changed? What is different about this moment that we're starting to see more and more of these companies experiment with, roll out smart glasses?
So a lot has changed in many different ways. One, I mentioned the design. This new wave of glasses actually looks like a pair of glasses. The one giveaway is that you can kind of see the cameras on them. Otherwise, I feel like you wouldn't even be able to tell that they're smart glasses. Two, I think the price is a big deal. Google Glass was really expensive. It was really kind of positioned as a early adopter product, but it never made it beyond that stage. And those glasses, I think they were around $1,500 or something like that at the time. They were very, very expensive. So that prevented adoption as well. And then the other thing is the technology just wasn't really ready yet. It was really hard to get the computing technology, the components to run in a pair of glasses that's small enough to look natural and normal and even fashionable. And then on top of that, a lot of these devices rely on your phone for some of the computing. So we've also had advancements in Bluetooth and battery life to make it easier to have your phone connect to all of these things around you without draining the battery too much as well.
Right. So Meta also recently revealed in September its newest wearable technology, which are the Ray-Ban display glasses. They have a tiny little display inside of the right lens. I got to try them at Meta's Connect event in September, and they are pretty amazing. Like, you can see your text messages, you can see photos before you take them, you could see someone on the other end of a video call. There is navigation, so you can see the directions in the screen as you're walking. I can see that being very useful. And you can control the glasses with taps and with hand gestures because it comes with this neural wristband. So you don't have to talk out loud to the glasses, which I feel like is probably a huge hurdle if you're in public. You don't want to say, hey, Meta, out loud to command your glasses to do something. Do you think that all of those features and capabilities are going to make it more likely that people want to buy smart glasses?
I certainly think it helps. And I'm glad you mentioned the wristband because I do think that's a big part of it. Even though voice assistants have been around for years, dating back to the iPhone 4S when Siri arrived, I feel like there's still a stigma around talking out loud to your technology. And a lot of these tech giants, even OpenAI, a lot of the companies behind these really popular virtual assistants are betting that we're going to be doing everything with voice in the future. And I think there will be a shift. I think people will, as we get more used to speaking conversationally to these assistants, I think that'll happen. Mm-hmm. But I do think there is still a stigma around saying things out loud. And on top of that, I haven't tried the Meta ones specifically, but I tried a prototype of the ones that Google is working on. And I do think this idea of having something that you can see that's like just out of your line of sight is really helpful. And I do think it'll definitely strengthen the case for smart glasses. I'm skeptical that for people who don't wear glasses, that they're going to want to spend a lot of money on this. I mean, these glasses are not cheap, but yeah, we'll have to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. On one hand, I totally understand the sell of like, you don't have to pull out your cell phone. You can continue to sort of look out and engage with the world. And I'm sort of like, okay, you're not looking at your phone, but now the screen is an inch away from your face. I don't know. I'm curious how people are going to react to that piece of it.
I think there's going to be different weird social things that come up because, yes, maybe we won't be as glued to our phones, but also if you're walking around with these glasses that have an AI assistant in them and you're talking to them, think about how that interaction plays out when you're with a group of people, right? It's much more discreet to just look down at your phone to check something than if you and I are in a conversation to say, hey, Meta, or hey, Google, or whatever, and then stand there and like wait for the answer that only you can hear while you're in a group of people. It's a little awkward. So I do think there will be some like new social friction situations that might come up, but there is promise. I think we're going to have to see how people receive them. So I think as more people get smart glasses and start using them, that'll kind of steer the direction for Meta and all of these other companies working on them.
So you touched on this, but obviously Meta is not the only one working on this. Talk to me about the sort of competitive landscape here, what other companies are trying to do this and where they kind of are in the process.
It feels like almost every major tech company is trying to do this now. We have Samsung and Google that are partnering on a pair of smart glasses based on the new operating system that they worked together on. It's called Android XR. Snap is also working on a pair of more sophisticated glasses that we actually got to try a while ago. That'll be coming out sometime next year. And then there are rumors and reports about Apple working on their own smart glasses as well. So you have a lot of the major companies that are in the consumer tech space. And then there are smaller players as well that were kind of like in the mixed reality and virtual reality space that are now saying like, hey, we have this type of technology that we've been working on. We can also jump on the smart glasses trend. I'm curious from a consumer perspective. I mean, obviously smart glasses are still niche. This is still a fairly small market. But Ray-Ban's parent company, EssilorLuxottica, this is Meta's partner, said that their revenue for Meta glasses tripled year over year in the most recent quarter. Why do you think smart glasses are growing with consumers in this moment? Is it just novelty? Like, what's going on there? Yeah, I think there are a few things. And one, I think partnering with a major company in the glasses and eyewear space is a really smart move because because that was another hurdle that kind of prevented these devices from taking off in the past, is that they were seen mostly as a tech product, as a gadget, as something for early adopters, whereas this already kind of fits in with everyday life. At the time that Google Glass was around, most people didn't even have smartwatches yet. There were no AirPods or anything. Nobody was really used to having all of these peripheral devices that connect to your phone to do things. We're living in a time now where people are, first of all, posting on social media, and social media alone has become so much more visual. So I think that use case alone of not having to take out your phone to record a TikTok video or whatever of what you're seeing, or, in Meta's case, a Instagram reel of what you're seeing, I think that alone kind of strengthens the case compared to like a decade ago when Google Glass was on the scene. I think there's parts of it that are more accessible. I think that's why maybe privacy concerns also aren't as big of, I'm not saying they're not a big deal, but I think people aren't as concerned
People
about
have given up on their privacy.
Yeah, I mean, Google Glass was so controversial. There were places where it was banned. People were worried about this idea of having a camera on your face. Now everybody's used to everything being recorded all the time. So I think that's one reason why maybe people are embracing these more. And also, glasses are a luxury product. If you're buying designer glasses, they're going to be expensive. So I think that's part of it too, is that people who do buy glasses and invest in eyewear because they wear them every day, I think are used to the high price a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's such a good point, too, about the benefits of partnering with, an Essel or Luxottica, is that people can go into stores and try them on, too. Like, you can just go in and have that sort of tactile experience and see that they look pretty normal. Talk to me about what's going on under the hood of these smart glasses. How do they actually work?
So typically with these kinds of devices, and this isn't just smart glasses, this is a lot of wearable devices, you'll have some level of computing that happens on the device itself, and then you'll have some things that rely on the phone. And in Meta's case, I know they have a dedicated app for managing the glasses and controlling settings and things like that and pairing them. So this really is kind of like an extension of your phone, is how a lot of these companies are pitching it.
Right. From your experience trying these devices, what do they excel at and what are they still not very good at doing?
I think they're really good for quick things, of course, like if you want to ask the weather, news headlines. I think directions are an interesting use case, but I don't think it's common enough. We don't really have these glasses that have displays in them yet to be able to see how useful that is in everyday situations. But I do think quick things, I think listening to music is another one, and taking photos. Those are probably the three, and phone calls as well. Those are probably the three main use cases that you see right now that a lot of people use them for, especially for photography. I think there are a lot of ways where they'll evolve in the coming months or even years. And I think a lot of that has to do with AI models and how Google improves Gemini and how Meta improves its AI assistant and kind of expands the capabilities of what those things can do. I think language translation is another good one as well. It's hard because I don't feel like a lot of people use that in an everyday situation, but it is something that if I were traveling that I could see being very useful. Being able to look at a sign and translate it, or have audio translated very easily, I think is something that people who travel a lot will find useful. But I do think there's a long way to go in terms of really finding the promise. Like, what is going to be the thing that really makes people want to run out and buy these devices and say, I have to have that. This is something that I don't want to miss out on.
Yeah. You mentioned the privacy concerns, too. And often on this show, we talk about the risks of big tech companies collecting our data. That feels even more true here when, even Mark Zuckerberg has said the promise of these devices, they can see what you see and hear what you hear, which maybe is useful, but also I think to many people maybe sounds a bit creepy. How should people think about that issue if they're considering purchasing smart glasses?
Yeah, I think it's a really important decision and an important thing to think about because on some level, this is already happening, right? Meta might already have access to your camera roll and what your camera sees because you're using apps that require that. Same thing with ChatGPT and Gemini. You can share your camera with these AI assistants that they can help you with things, right? So I think to some degree, the glasses are falling in line with like consumer behavior and the things that we're already doing. We're used to sharing a lot of things on our phones already. Even if you're not using Gemini through the glasses, you're probably giving it some of the same information or most of the same information through your phone. But I do think if glasses do become more popular and people do start wearing them all the time, there's always things that happen that you can't foresee, right? Like when Alexa and all of these smart home assistants came about, there were people accidentally buying things on Amazon and these AI assistants accidentally overhearing really private and personal things. And to some extent, like, yes, we, at that point in time, this is also about a decade ago, we were accustomed to like sharing a lot of information with these tech giants, but that still happened and that was still unexpected. So I wouldn't be surprised if when smart glasses, if they do take off, if there are some unexpected privacy concerns that are really hard to predict until, they get mass adoption.
Right. And what about for people who see other people out wearing these in public? I mean, you can see the cameras on the front of them. I remember when Google Glass was a thing, there was this term glass hole, which is what people called the folks who were wearing these glasses because they were concerned about being filmed or photographed all the time. How have the companies sought to address those concerns?
Yeah, there are a few things that the companies have done, especially, having lights or other indicators that the camera's on, just advising people who are wearing them, like even in the setup process, like, hey, just be aware of your surroundings, things like that. I do think privacy is still going to be a concern. We already live in a world where people are carrying cameras with them all the time. I think, what happens when those cameras are directly in your line of sight is a little different because at least with a phone, you have to be pretty intentional about what you're taking a photo of or what you're recording. So I think this just kind of like removes that barrier a little bit. And with that will probably come some privacy concerns.
Yeah, maybe we should show people who are watching and I can explain. So you can tell it to take a picture or I'm going to take a picture of you. So I'm going to take a picture of Lisa. Maybe you'll be able to hear it. So you can hear the noise. And then for folks who are listening, there's also a green light that flashes either when you take a picture or if you're recording a video. But I do think that you have to be paying pretty close attention to the glasses to notice that. Like if you're on the subway with someone,
right,
unless you're looking them right in the face, you might not notice. Talk to me about big picture where this is going. A lot of these companies, including Meta, have teased true augmented reality glasses where you'll be able to see sort of holograms projected in front of you. Is this going to a place where we'll rely more on these devices on our face to do more and more of our computing tasks?
I think that's the goal, and I think that's the next step, right? You start with the glasses that just have the AI assistance and audio in them, and then you move on to the ones with the display in them, and then you move on to the ones that have true augmented reality, basically this idea of having graphics that can be overlaid on your environment so you can look at something and see it and interact with it, kind of like what the Apple Vision Pro does, but like, of course, that's a much bigger headset, and there's other headsets that do the same, but I think that's the goal, is to get that technology into a pair of glasses, and that's what you're seeing Meta work on with the Orion glasses. That's what Snap is working on as well, and I'm sure other companies are. In the Android space as well, that's part of why Google is calling this operating system Android XR, because it's going to be glasses, it's going to be glasses with displays, glasses probably with augmented reality.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, you can imagine a world where they can be normal glasses, or you can turn on the little display, or you can turn on this more sort of immersive, fully augmented capabilities. Maybe you have different glasses for each, or maybe the single pair can kind of do all the things. Obviously, these glasses are not cheap. The Meta Ray-Ban display glasses retail for $799. The glasses without the built-in displays, like these, are $379. They have sports glasses that are $499. Do you think they're worth the investment at this point, or are there certain people who you think are maybe better candidates for buying these glasses?
I do think right now we're still kind of in that early adopter stage. I think the people who are spending that money on the glasses today are people that are interested in technology or people who take a lot of photos. Those are truly, of the people I know that have them, those are the only types of people I know that have actually bought them and spent their own money on these glasses. So I do think we're still in that stage. Is it worth it is kind of hard to answer. And I think a lot of it depends on, glasses are such a personal thing. Like I wore glasses for years until recently, for most of my life. And, I think the main thing people still take into account is, how do they look, right? How do they feel? Can I wear these every day, right? So I do think for the people that truly want that, like, glasses are something that they will invest in because they're part of who you are every day, right? You can't see without them. They're really important. So I do think that's one advantage that you have in this space compared to, like, smartwatches are kind of expendable. You don't really need, like, it's not like you need it to get through the day.
Right.
Same thing with headphones. So I do think to some degree people will spend on them. Is it worth it today? It's hard to say. It depends on what your priorities are. I do think that we're just at the beginning, though.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for doing this. This was really interesting.
Of course. Thank you for having me.